here's a fun question that I kind of think is fun. Anyway, Brian Orso, let's go Brandon episode? ?
Oh, man.
And, of course, I bring it up because we just had a conversation about how this sort of, what would you call it? It's a meme?
It's more than a trope. It's more than a meme.
It's trope,
yeah. Yeah, but it's
a bit of a troll, but it's clever.
If you don't know, I mean, surely everybody knows, but we can't assume. You know, with an audience this vast, there's bound to be somebody in there that does know what we're talking about. But let's go, Brandon.
Sure.
Has become code for F. Joe Biden. And F. Joe Biden, of course, is code for Joe Biden. But I don't say on this podcast.
You know I'm going to bleep that.
I do, but I want people to understand. You know, a reporter, I think for ESPN or NBC or somebody, was covering a race, and a guy named Brandon was the driver. And while they were, while she was interviewing Brandon, the crowd, a rather large crowd, started chanting Joe Biden, and it was crystal clear. Everybody could hear it, and this made the reporter nervous. So she said, "Oh, Brandon, these people love you. You can hear them chanting, 'Let's go, Brandon.'" Well, of course, that's not what they were chanting, but that little bit went out live, and I don't know who first decided that let's just go ahead and use that as code for what the people were really saying, and now it's gone everywhere. And I think the purpose of our conversation, Chuck, when this came up was, my point was, this is clever. It's not rude. It's not, as many have suggested, a giant coarsening of the culture. I don't see it as any of those things. Politics aside, this is a reaction to the times that we're living in. And the times that we're living in right now are forcing lots of people on both sides of the aisle to look at a thing or hear a thing and be told that what they're seeing and what they're hearing is not real. And you can't do that to people indefinitely and expect them not to push back somehow. You can't tell people that the border is secure and then show them images of tens of thousands of people flooding over it. You can't tell people that the evacuation of Afghanistan was a success and then show them people falling off of a plane. Right? You just can't do that. And you can't ask people who are watching a NASCAR race at home, who clearly hear the crowd yelling Joe Biden, to pretend that what they're really hearing is "Let's go, Brandon." And so I think what's happened is people have just become sick and tired of being told that what they're seeing and what they're hearing is not what they're seeing and hearing. And this is the perfect trope. I don't think people who yell it are necessarily enemies of the president. I think they're enemies of being told that what they're seeing and what they're hearing isn't real, that it's somehow a figment of their imagination. People are sick of that.
I think people have a legitimate gripe that they were irritated with, and I think it started at NASCAR and at college football games. I'm not exactly sure, but it's a coarse thing to say. He is the president of the United States. Whatever displeasure, and his numbers are very low right now, whatever displeasure you have with the president, this is not a great thing to be saying. And now people have found a way to say the same thing without being coarse,
without saying
crass. And
that's right.
And I think that is what makes it really funny.
Yes. Yes, it's hysterical because we're doubling down on the lie. If you're going to tell me that what I'm really hearing is "Let's go, Brandon," then I'll live with that, because now you know what I'm really saying. And look, I think what's happening with our language is amazing, and it's not good, right? I think that, like with higher education, for instance, I rant about this all the time with MicroWorks. You can't talk about higher education without implying that all other forms of education are lower.
Right.
And that's crazy. because apprenticeships are not lower education, and community college is not lower education. It's different. It's not about higher or lower. But we let people take the language and do this goofy crap with it, and then we're left with a real rhetorical problem. We just saw it happen with essential work. Let's celebrate essential work. But guess what? When you do that, you're telling 40 million or so people that they're non-essential. And that's not good. It's not good for the economy, right? We can see what happens when 40 million people sit out for a year. All the wheels come off the bus. So essential is a tricky word. Higher is a tricky word. Infrastructure is a tricky word. I used to know what it meant. And then the infrastructure bill came along. And, well, people want to talk about maybe $1.2 trillion is too much. Maybe we need more. Maybe we need less. But how can you debate an infrastructure bill when at the same time people are telling you that, no, infrastructure is not limited to bridges and roads and the electric grid. It's not limited to runways and plumbing. It also includes free college. It includes free health care. It includes reparations for slavery. Look, we can talk about any of those things. That's all fine, but if you're now telling me that we have to do it in the context of infrastructure, I'm going to say, let's go, Brandon, because that's crazy. Because you're making me crazy. You can't just redefine a word. Merriam's the dictionary people, for God's sakes, last week officially changed the definition of anti-vaxxer to include people who are against mandates. That's amazing. Mm-hmm. And that just happened. So, look, I'm pro-vaccine. I got my vaccines. I recommend people get vaccinated. But that doesn't mean I'm pro-mandate. But now Merriam's says it does mean that thing. And so that's what Let's Go Brandon is. It's a pushback, not just against the current president. It's a pushback against this incredible wave of no. That word does not mean what you think it means. This all comes back to Inigo Montoya and A Princess Bride, when Wallace Shawn says, inconceivable. And he says, you keep using that word. I do not think it means what you think it means. Well, guess what? You know what Let's Go Brandon means? Now you do. And that's how the whole conversation punches straight through to the other side. That's how you get to the other side of the lie. You say, okay, we'll pretend that the audience isn't saying that. We'll pretend that they're saying what you're telling us is what they're saying. But deep down, you know what they're saying.
You know.
Tell that joke, because that's what it is. It's that same joke. Go ahead, tell me that. Let's leave this whole thing with a joke, and I know you're going to have to bleep it because you're still at that stage in your producer life. But let's leave them with a joke.
Okay, so a guy's walking down the street on his way to work, and he comes across a pet store, and there's a parrot outside, and the parrot looks at him and goes, "Rah! Hey, buddy, thank you." Guy says, "Oh, it's terrible." He goes off indignant. Next day, parrot walking by, looks at him and goes, "Hey, buddy, thank you." And this happens every single day, and he's starting to get a complex. So he goes into the store on the third day. The parrot says this to him, and he goes into the store, and he goes up to the guy who owns the store, and he says, "This parrot out there is really, really annoying me. He's telling me to go F myself all the time, and I can't take it anymore." So the pet store owner goes to the parrot, and he says, "Listen, you better be nice to this guy when he walks by. If I hear you say that one more time, I'm going to fricassee your little butt. You understand me?" "Okay." So the next day, the guy walks by, and he looks over at the parrot. The parrot is where he always is, and the parrot goes, "Hey, buddy." And the guy looks at him, and he goes, "You know." That's it.
You know. Hey, man. That's the answer to Let's Go Brandon. We just did an episode on it. Congratulations. You got your wish. We just literally did 15 minutes on this thing, and I'm glad we did, because that's what it is. It's a way of saying exactly what you want to say without saying anything close to what you mean, and yet you're still understood. Yeah. Hey, buddy. You know. Let's go, Brandon. Unbelievable.
It's a good one.
All right. Well, to sum up.